Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are live at the Holiday Inn Lounge in Lizard, Seattle, Washington. I'm interviewing a hijacker, Mary Sutton of Hammond. Mary Sutton, how badly do you want to be on YouTube and seen by 100,000 people?
Very, very badly. I will do anything. I've driven the farthest and I brought the oldest person I know with me. So, I want to be on TV.
Well, if it ain't 10 points, I give up. Well,
I will step out now.
We'll conclude. Over and out.
Lights, camera, action.
Good evening, everyone. Here we are live for your viewing audience with the honoree this afternoon, my Aunt Marguerite Hebert Broussard, who is celebrating, as I understand it, her 90th anniversary of being born. So my first question is, what do you plan on doing for the next 90 years, the second half?
If I'm still around, I hope you're all around me. That would make me happiest.
And there we have it, live from River Road, Louisiana.
Action.
And here we are on River Road at the Pearson residence, live with Miss Mary Broussard of Hammond, Louisiana. Mary, what would you like to say to our viewing audience this afternoon?
I would like to say that I am delighted. It's a beautiful day. It's a wonderful day. Thank you all for making this possible. I love y'all. That's it.
And one who was responsible for her being born and having her own birthday.
And I really
so she's
appreciate
a double
her for
honoree
that.
today.
I am. Isn't she wonderful?
Isn't she terrific?
Yes,
She's wonderful.
It says yes, she's
Yay.
Go.
Hi, I'm Megan Bertrand. I'm Helen's granddaughter.
You could really see
Kimberly
Alice and
Ronnie,
you
I'm
and
Helen's
Albert.
granddaughter.
Yeah.
And this is Wyatt Bertrand, Helen's great-grandson.
It really wasn't.
How old is Wyatt?
And Wyatt will be 3 months old
He
next
said Alice
week.
and I dated the same people.
And I'm Kate Pearson, Helen's daughter-in-law.
And Megan, where's your other little child?
The child is with his mother playing soccer.
And his name is?
And his name is Roy Bertrand IV.
Okay, thank you. Okay, 3, 2, 1, here we go. We're on. Lights, camera,
Good
action.
evening, everyone in our viewing audience. Here we are in the lovely parlor of the lovely Helen Hebert Pearson.
Surrounded by flowers.
And Helen, could you please tell us
Saying, if you could change the size.
what brought you to do this today? And, what possessed you?
Actually, Claudette and Kay have been talking about doing this for about a year, I'm sure. Every time I see Claudette, we really ought to get together with Meg and Evelyn and just talk about old times. I want my children to, you know, to hear these stories and learn these stories. And I kept saying, if you don't get Meg before she dies, well, it ain't happening because I can't remember. And Evelyn's terrible. And I proved the fact that they were working on the tape the other night at Megan's, and Kay called to ask me to come over. And she said, Megan and I are working on the tape for Meg's birthday. Would you come over? And I said, yes. She said, you would? And they must have asked 10 or 12 questions, and I couldn't answer any. They kept calling. I'd give the wrong answer. So we'd call Meg, and if I give an answer, she'd give an opposite answer. I thought, if you had Evelyn and I here, it would be funnier. Yeah, I mean, it was so, I just have no memory. And Meg's
I was asking you a while ago, and you said that you remember your grandmother.
I remember
And
her.
you were 5 years old when she
Right.
died. But I remember Aunt Alice telling me that she spoke French. And her big treat was to get once a month a little French newspaper from Quebec.
I think so.
And Alice, who I thought of as an angel, said we were so terrible because we would get her mad at us because we knew she'd roll it up and act like she was smacking us and rip up her little newspaper.
Yeah.
chasing us around. So I want to ask you, did you learn how to speak any French?
No.
As a little child, you didn't speak any French?
No signal, but it's not showing.
That's remarkable. Living in the house with somebody.
Yeah. No, in fact, I think they wouldn't allow French to be spoken on the school grounds.
Afraid of the accent?
Right, and so I missed out on it. Yeah. The older generation did. Robert
It's
on
just not
us
showing anything.
could speak French.
Do you have any memories of,
I don't have any.
do you have any
Next
memories
question.
of Robert and Buddy going to Chicago on a trip?
Vaguely, Meg remembers it well. The
Of
story,
Robert and
We'll
Buddy?
save that for later.
but we'll save that for later.
Okay.
So thank you for the interviews.
Well, this is the end of the lounge interview in the happy parlor of the Happy Helen.
Helen and Ed.
Yay.
Broussard. I'm the birthday girl's oldest illegitimate son, and I'm really looking forward to the day for not just because it's a birthday party with a lot of wonderful people, but because I see a lot of cousins that I haven't seen in a really long time. I'm really looking forward to it. Been waiting on this for a while now.
Good.
So,
Okay, thanks for coming.
oh, it's great.
Ready, set, go.
Pam and Albert LaCasse. We live in Houston and Abbeville part-time. I guess the relationship that everybody would recognize, Uncle Albert's grandson.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for coming. The flower. Okay, ready? Go.
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 I'm Linda Osborne. I was Linda LeBlanc. I'm the eldest of Evelyn's children, and I have one child. This is my little boy, Kenneth, and he's Kenneth Purcell.
Been little for years.
And I always call him my little boy, and I'm so excited to be here for Aunt Meg's 90th birthday. It's astonishing. She looks like she's about 36. And Kenneth lives in New Orleans, and I live in New Orleans, and he also has a house in Manhattan. So he has two businesses. He can talk about that because
Well,
he's on
that's-
television a lot.
Okay. Well, we appreciate y'all coming. Thank y'all for coming. This group, ready to go. On action.
Hello, my name is Dave deGraauw, aka Boo Boo. Here for the Hebert sisters celebration, getting Meg's 90th birthday. We're all excited. The red carpet treatment has arrived. Looking forward to it.
Thank you for coming. Back up a little bit. Try to get everybody. Can you go up one step? I was trying to get everybody with the.
Come here, come stand in front of us, Boo Boo.
Y'all have to wait your turn.
Okay.
Be prepared. We're gonna ask a couple of questions.
I can't get top to bottom.
Today for the
There you go. There you go. Oh yeah, that's good. Because I was trying to get. There you go. That's perfect. Okay, ready? Wait, we're gonna go 3, 2. Go ahead.
Okay, this is the Gordon clan from Houma, Louisiana. Pat Gordon, and my son Grant, and my wife Pam.
So glad y'all could come.
Oh, thank you for having us.
All
Appreciate
right. Wait. Okay, go.
Hi, Kathleen and Frank Streeva, Houma, Louisiana.
And your connection to this family is?
I am Alice Hebert Gordon's daughter, and this is her son-in-law.
Thanks for coming. Nice to meet y'all.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Bye. And on the red carpet.
Ariel's on the carpet.
And who do we have entering? Ariel's on the. Hello. I love it on the red carpet. You're so pretty. Go. Just introduce yourselves and tell us what. No, just your name.
I'm Michelle LeBlanc, and this is my mother, Evelyn LeBlanc. And this is Ariel LaForest.
Nice to see y'all. And Evelyn, what order are you in with the Hebert? Number 7. Great. Well, I'm so glad everybody's here. Just introduce yourselves.
We are the LeBlanc Berries.
Nice to see you.
And yes, that's right. And we're here to celebrate Aunt Meg's 90th birthday, and this is Simonette.
And can
I'm
you tell me your connection to the Hebert sisters?
It's a French connection.
You are the daughter of?
I'm the daughter of Evelyn.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Ready, set, go.
Steve Broussard, and son of Marguerite and Lavelle.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're ready. Go.
Okay, hi, I'm Kathy Pearson. This is my lovely sister-in-law, my best sister-in-law, and Aunt Meg is my great aunt-in-law.
And Aunt Helen is?
And my mother-in-law.
And you
my
are
best mother-in-law in the world, and I'm married to, what's his name again?
Oh, I don't remember.
Let's see, where is he?
I don't know.
Brian is on his way back from California right now. He's on the plane as we speak.
And you have how many children?
I have two boy men.
2 big boys.
One's a boy man, the other is a man boy. I just checked on the man boy on Jeff, and he's still sleeping. He just went to bed 2 hours ago.
Oh, goodness.
Yes, and he's in a media production company and is doing very well. And the other one is 16 and a half and he wishes he was 25.
And his name is?
That's Kevin.
Great.
Kevin.
Okay.
And those are my babies.
Good.
They tower over me.
We're glad you could come.
And that many kids. Look at that family. Is that, how many is that? 1, 2, 3, that's all of them.
3, 2, 1, ready, set, go.
Hi everybody. My name is Jennifer Ann Stuller Nehrbass, and I'm from the Lafayette extension of the family. My grandmother, Adeline Virginia LaCasse, married a Stuller when she ran off to California to be in the silent movie. She found a fiddle player from Colorado, and so that's how I came to be a Stuller from my adventurous grandmother. She moved back to Abbeville after she was widowed in that big flu epidemic in around 1920 and lived there ever since teaching school. So I was the bottom half of the 6 Stuller kids, so they would regularly ship the lower 3 of us over to Abbeville, so I got to know all my cousins real well. I often stayed at Michelle and Lisa LeBlanc's house. And my Aunt Meg and my daddy were best friends when they were young, and so I have lots of family secrets from Aunt Meg, and I promise to keep them posthumously. So how do you say that? Anyway, bye,
Well,
Jennifer Stuller Nehrbass.
Thank you for coming. Ready, set, go.
Okay, we're here this afternoon with our honoree, my Aunt Marguerite Hebert Broussard, on her birthday, at Aunt Helen's house on the River Road in Abbeville. And we're all having a nice time, a nice crowd attending. If you're paying the audience, they can, for posterity, we can all see all the cousins and aunts and uncles and everybody attending this afternoon. This wonderful gathering. A get together of honoring the 6 Hebert sisters who have been here over the generations. And one of the questions I wanted to ask Aunt Marguerite was if she could kind of explain how her mother's family, the LaCasse and LaForest families, ended up in Abbeville, how they came here. And so Aunt Meg, if you could just kind of tell us how it was told to you and what your knowledge of it is.
As well as I remember, okay, Grandma LaCasse was a LaForest. Born in Canada, Choate, Canada. She and her husband moved to Baraboo, Michigan, northern Michigan. They had a little store. Grandmother LaCasse was a milliner. She made hats. Did it very beautifully. She did it even after she came to Abbeville. At a very early age, Grandpa LaCasse, I think he was in his, like 42, died of a heart attack. They had 5 children. Uncle Albert LaCasse, and Albertine Gordy, and Adeline Stuller, my mother, Amanda LaCasse, and Aunt Leontine Terrio. All right, Father LaForest was Grandma LaCasse's brother. When her husband died, he told her that if she would come to Abbeville to live, that he would, if she would come to the rectory and really be his housekeeper, that he would educate the children and take care of the children. So of course it was a wonderful opportunity. So Grandma with the 5 children came to Abbeville to live. That was the beginning.
When was that? Was that about 1900, 1905, somewhere in there? I remember your mother telling about they were living there in the rectory when the church caught on fire and the rectory burnt down.
They would supper one night in the wooden structure, the first Catholic church, and it was called St. Ames. It wasn't St. Mary Magdalene then. When the church burned, the girls were put into the convent shortly, and Father LaForest bought the house that we were, all the little Hebert were born, not all, starting with Alice. All of us were born there. The house that you all knew and remember, where you all played kick the can, remember? Kick the can. So it was always a gathering place for the cousins. You will all attest to that, I'm sure. And that's how the little Heberts came to. Mama talks about her courtship. Daddy was, he was from Abbeville, but he came to Abbeville at the ripe old age of 20 to work at the rice mill. Mama was a music teacher. She taught at the convent, Mont Carmel, but she also taught at the elementary school. Daddy would ride by in his little horse and buggy and tip his dirty hat to her every day. That's what they had. And Father LaForest thought He's a fine young man. He's at Mass every morning. So he approved of that. Uncle had to approve of everything. And Mama said the courtship was not that exciting on Sunday afternoon. Played with Cheesa in the park. Football allowed with chaperone. Not too much fun. Well, Aunt Leontine married Uncle Roy, who was a druggist, lived in Gaydon. Aunt Albertine married, I think at the ripe old age of 16. Uncle Walter was 32, he was an attorney. And Adeline married during World War I. Uncle Gilbert did not live terribly long when Jennifer's dad, Gilbert Jr. was born when he was an infant. They moved to Abbeville and lived with the Gordys. And Mama, of course, married Henry Sylvester Hebert from Abbeville, Louisiana. And Uncle Albert married Louise Leganek. And all of these little cousins grew up close together and very happy. Many games besides kick the can. And today makes me feel real happy. Because I feel like everybody in this room has contributed to that. And I love all of you, you know that.
We love you too.
That's a wonderful recitation of how it all came together. Let me ask you, something you mentioned earlier, I never thought about before. You mentioned starting with Alice, all the children were born in the house on East Street.
Right.
Where were the older children born?
All right, on State Street where Gertrude and Alfred Thomas lived. Corner of Maud Avenue and State Street.
They lived there?
They lived there. When Uncle died in the house where I was born, he left everything, his estate to Grandma LaCasse. And she asked Mom and Daddy to move in with them.
And that's when they moved from
So they
State
had
Street?
Juju, Tisa, and Alice were born. Born in the other house. Of course, we were all born at home in those days. And then I was the first. I was the first one born on Southeast Street. So that's how that came about. And then when Grandma LaCasse died, I was 17 years old. Helen was 5. Evelyn, you were what? About 9. And my dad bought from the estate. Bought the house. Yeah. So of course it's been my home all of my life until I married.
But we've seen pictures of it where it was about twice as big as it is now.
It was, yeah.
There was a wing that had a big round baptistry room. It was actually the rectory.
And after the church burned, in that round tower room, we used to love it. They used it as a chapel. They had weddings, funerals, baptisms, everything, mass in the little chapel. I do not know, because it was before my time, when they separated the house. At one point they did, with 2 huge homes, there were high ceilings, and we used it as a rent house. We always had neighbors living there. But I don't know exactly when that happened. I think it was before my time.
To come forward in time, to be a little more modern, listening to my mother as I was growing up, she would describe, in a variation, I think, of I had to walk 5 miles in the snow every day to school, which everyone has a version of it in their life.
I was told too.
It was that you and your family ate 3 meals a day at home, seated, 3 meals, 13 people at each seating.
Wonderful.
Can you kind of talk about some memories of that?
Yeah.
3 seated meals with 13 people a day, and everyone walking back and forth to all the schools?
Well, for one thing, we always had help. We always had good help, good cookers up there. And I hate to tell you what we had to pay for that. $3 a week. $3 a week. That was what everybody paid. And yeah, even after I taught at Abbeville, I would walk home for lunch. We did have an hour instead of 30 minutes. So everybody did it, Daddy had a company car, but only used it for family use if it was pouring rain. Well, that was it, just about. And on Sunday afternoons, we'd go for a ride. The car had a rumble seat. It was very romantic. But you couldn't take all of us at once. So or you go to Perry, or you go to LeBlanc. I look forward to that. When it was your turn, it was fun.
Can you tell me about when you first started teaching, I think once you told me that they had asked you to go to Pecan Island, but you didn't want to go there. You wanted to go to, and you ended up being right.
Yeah, when I applied, after a 2-year course, in those years, you could get a lifetime certificate after 2 years of college. I applied for a job. Mr. Hugh Williams was superintendent, and he said that he would give me a job in Pecan Island. Well, at that time, you could only get there by boat. There was no boat. And I had never been there. Except SLI, 20 miles away, so I felt like a little orphan child almost. And Minnie Berry, bless her heart, passed away this week, put the words in my mouth. She said, you go to Mr. Williams. Oh, first of all, the Dean of Education called and asked me to come to SLI for an interview because the superintendent was from Calcasieu Parish, was there, and wanted to interview me. And he did. I had made a name in practice teaching. He said he offered me a job in a little town near Lake Charles. And I still would have been away from home. I wanted to teach in Abbeville Parish. So Dad drove me to SLI for the interview, and the job was offered to me near Lake Charles. So Minnie Berry said, look, she put the words in my mouth, and I was rather shy. I was talking what Minnie told me to say. She said, you go back to Mr. Williams and tell him you will not go to Pecan Island, but that you would like to teach in Abbeville Parish. And you had this other job offer. And he said, you're mighty sassy. My heart was going to pick up. But anyway, he said, how would you like to go to Wright, a little country school between Kaplan and Gaydon? Well, that was like heaven. I lived in Atlanta, and
so you lived
I had
in
2
Gaydon.
roommates, and I taught it right. It wouldn't. We had an outdoor john, so I was afraid to use it because the guineas would get out. And they packed it. But anyway, we had a pump, pumped water. Everybody had, all the teachers, there were 6 grades, had a tin cup, and we pumped the water. That was exciting. You drink the water from the pump. But anyway, that worked beautifully. I roomed with 2 friends, Grace Montgomery from Kaplan and Mattia Wild from Abbeville. And Aunt Leontine, I mean, it was 3 wonderful meals a day. She fixed a lunch for me because I was teaching in the country. Mattia and Grace taught.
This is in Gaydon.
Gaydon. She charged me $15 a month. I had borrowed money to go to school from the Women's Club Scholarship Fund and had to pay back $12 a month. But I was making a lot of money. I was making $64.20 a month. I went on and got my degree by correspondence in summer school. And then I was making $80 a month. Taught for the next year, 2nd year in Gaydon, and then 4 years in Abbeville. Then I went to Baton Rouge to work at Standard Oil and made $300 and something a month, which was wonderful. I had 2 roommates. We had a beautiful apartment, $75 a month. Yeah, those were the good old days, girls.
When you in Gaydon, I know that Uncle Gilbert and Alma lived at one time.
Oh, that was after.
But that was after, in Gaydon also, with the Terriers. And also, Aunt Rose was teaching at one time down in Cameron and Rutherford Beach.
Yeah.
Was that at the same time you were there, or was that earlier?
That was earlier.
It was earlier she was down there.
Yeah. And Robert worked in the drugstore when he, can I tell that story?
Yeah. I
worked in the drugstore. He helped his Uncle Roy one summer. And one lady, excuse me, gentlemen, came in and asked for Kotex. Of course, Robert had 6 sisters. He didn't know what that was. He said, well, if you tell me what it's for, I think I can help you. But everybody knew the rabbit.
Uncle Robert, do you remember your brother Robert running backwards through the...
Oh, yeah. He walked to school backwards. That was fun.
Yeah.
He walked to school backwards.
I think Uncle Freddie told me once that your father was driving home from Rice, and as he was driving along Lafayette Street, he could see through the houses along the way in the backyards, Robert running backwards, keeping up with the car. It's an interesting little anecdotal town.
You could write a book about Rabbit.
Well, can you tell me about when you met your husband, Uncle Lavelle?
Yeah.
And he was from Abbeville also.
Well, we were in grade school and high school together. But in those days, you didn't date very much, unless it was a little dance, which was usually held in the homes. Then you might have a date, you might not. You know, you just go as groups. So I knew Lavelle all of my life, but as I say, we didn't date. And then came World War II, children, World War II. And Lavelle had just graduated from SLI and volunteered for the service. He was going to be drafted and knew that, so he went in as a lieutenant. Then he was on the Saratoga in the South Pacific for 4 years.
Oh, wow. Oh, I didn't realize he was on
the war was over, and he decided to go to law school, GI Bill of Rights. So he did. He went to LSU. In his last semester, he called me one day.
And you were living in Baton Rouge then?
Baton Rouge, yeah, working in Standard Oil. He called me one day and asked if he'd come over. Sure. And he came over every day afterwards. He never took me out. We never went to a ball game. We never did anything exciting. He was a good student, but he studied hard. You have to go back and study. So, but it was so right. Met in March. I mean, we started dating in March. We didn't tell anybody that we were engaged in June. We married in November.
Sounds like a wonderful romance. Lovely romance. And can you introduce us to your 3 children who are here today?
I surely can.
And if our camera person can show
okay,
the wonderful.
Gregory was my first son. Born.
I already told everybody I was illegitimate. So.
I was the easiest birth and the hardest child to raise.
And Stephen Henry.
I like that. I've always been amazed when I hear the stories about our family. It's truly a remarkable journey, the last 100 years of the LaForest and the LaCasses here in South Louisiana, how they came to be here and all that. And a remarkable family and all of its branches and wings and all of the people, just delightful. What would you like people to remember about them? If this were put in a time capsule 100 years from now, how would you describe?
I think the remarkable thing about this family is the closeness that we feel. We don't see everyone every day or that often, but the love is there. It's just a bond. It's there. And we grew up, my children talk about it, taking it for granted that every family was like that. Not so. Well, first of all, how many families had 10 children? You know, in my day they did. I mean, in my parents' day they did. But I find that that's pretty remarkable.
Sure.
I really do.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
Does anybody have anything they'd like to ask or add?
About your father, can you tell us a little bit about his family?
My father, don't know as much. He was from Abbeville, Louisiana, which is LaForest Parish. They lived in a little cottage, which I thought was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Grandma had roses and flowers everywhere. It was on the side of the Catholic Church. Grandma would visit us every summer, spend a week or so with us. Darling, delightful little lady. There's a picture of her somewhere in the group. And Dad came to Abbeville, I don't know how or why, but to work at the rice mill. And I suppose he started as an office boy, but he ended up being manager for all these years.
I had heard that he came with Western Union. Did he?
No.
Didn't he come with Western Union?
I don't think so.
I thought that, but I didn't.
But anyway, I've told you the story of how he met,
Sure.
Mama. So. Sure. And his sister was a nun, Aunt Edna, would visit us every summer, but she couldn't spend the night with us. Dad had to drive to the convent to spend the night. In those days, that's the way it was done. And then the next day, she'd come and spend the day with us. And his family visited quite often, so, you know, I remember all of that. These youngsters wouldn't.
Yeah.
But
what is the story in Abbeville about was it his family that had the burning of the house and the Confederate money that they had to?
I can't hear you. I'm deep, girls.
Was it his family that had the burning of the house from the Civil War and they had to cut the Confederate money up? Mom always talked about that story, and I didn't know that was the same.
Tell us about it, Evelyn.
She made it up. She made that up. Just like that. I thought you said that they used to cut up the Confederate money.
Oh yeah, I do remember that story. Grandma Hebert made her paper dolls out of Confederate money.
Cutting out paper dolls?
Yeah, you had never heard?
Yeah, I remember that.
Helen used to do flips.
She wanted to be sure of her.
She had the band and said, "That's mother."
My mother used to say, "You're going to hurt your back," and I said, "Two back surgery." I think she was right. I claim the name.
Who was the one who would pour the syrup in Uncle Robert's curls?
Uncle
Robert. Uncle Robert would pour the syrup in whose curls?
She had to bathe his Robert would pour syrup in his curls, and you bathed him. I think that's a story.
There's a story about that.
Well, Robert was the one who poured the syrup in somebody's curls. In his curls, Robert was a rascal. I mean, this beautiful cake to somebody's birthday.
Witness the ice.
Couldn't wait for a slice of the cake, so he took his hand and right on top of it.
Nobody touches it till it's time to cut the cake. So he looked at Grandma and he took her hand and put it in the ice and he didn't do it.
Look at her hands. Mama, who almost drowned in the ditch? Who almost drowned in the ditch with the rain? Evelyn.
First grade, Robert was in third grade at Abbeville High School, and we had a torrential downpour. And he was supposed to take care of his sister, walk home with her, and she fell in the ditch.
Sure, Robert
Push her.
No, Mama always said, Robert take care of Evelyn.
Yeah.
Evelyn take care of Yvonne. Yvonne take care of Helen. Helen take care of Buddy.
Oh, I did a good job. Yes, I did.
And Meg, tell us a story about Uncle Robert and your brothers and sisters in the Frank's Theater on Saturday afternoons with the variety shows.
The kiddie show, yeah.
Oh, Helen
At the Frank's Theater. Robert had this extravaganza every Saturday afternoon. Helen, you were in it. She was either Carmen Miranda or Shirley Temple, and she took off a Carmen Miranda outfit one day and cast it aside. She was in a nun's hat and the rosary.
Who was this for? What was this about?
It was a kiddie show. The
It
kiddie
was
show.
on the stage?
On the stage, Robert played the piano, and he was the producer. He told us what to do, and he knocked the heck out of you if you didn't do it. I learned every song there was to learn. I learned to flip. I learned,
Who was the audience?
All the friends, and they clapping and prizes. And Yvonne said she hated me for years because she wanted to win a Booby Boop doll or something. And I won a Betty Boop doll, and I won the Betty Boop doll. But Robert, would put us on the stage, and you got in free. That was the biggie. Dr. Perry Sutton was in the play. Y'all know his daughter. Yes, and I mean, Perry was in it. Lloyd Doré was one of the.
Yeah.
It was a cast, regular cast, but free admission. Hey.
How was the laundry done in your house? Who did all that laundry?
Oh, we had a woman who came with her daughter twice. I think it was twice a week. Backyard, a big bench with 3 huge tubs and washboard, and irons with a big black pot on the andirons, and she would light a fire, coal, and when that water was boiling, she put the white clothes in there. And the clothes were, of course, on an outdoor clothesline. And if the weather was very, very cold, sometimes the clothes would freeze. They were very hard to take off the line.
And how did bath time work with all those children?
You had a schedule. You had
One
one
bathroom.
At that time, we had one bathroom. Now there are three. Now that we don't need it, there are three. But yeah, you had to have a schedule. Yeah. And then Grandma LaCasse didn't think that was enough, so she put us on the corner of a table with a little pan of warm soapy water and wash our faces before we went to school, wash our hands and our knees. And in French, she would call it the lavage de chat, a cat bath.
Yeah. Robbie would kick when she'd lace his long boots.
Yeah.
Did
And
you,
that, ladies and gentlemen, was the good old days.
did you speak French as a child with your grandmother?
No, not very well. And I never studied, but I could understand everything that you said. I knew enough, but it wasn't good French, you know.
Was there a little school on Lafayette Street
Yeah,
that was in French?
correct. Yeah.
And did you go there?
Well, she had an outdoor bathroom, not bathroom, and the little pump and everything, and she taught 4 grades in one room. I went there from 1st to 4th grade, and Adeline taught me in 5th grade, the high school. Miss Rosa taught in a rocking chair, and she had a little stool right there, and if it was your turn to read, you'd sit right by her, do your little lesson, and okay, you threw Marguerite, go stir what's in the kitchen. She cooked a dinner while she cooked. But it was wonderful. And again, you get your little drink of water with your tin cup. Oh, that was living, man. That was really fun.
Now, where did all this artistic talent come in? Because Grandma couldn't draw a box, right?
Yeah,
But then Uncle Albert was a brilliant artist.
Uncle
And
Albert.
then Uncle Gilbert's side has the
Yeah, Gilbert was
artistic
good.
stuff.
So there's that art. And but your children all draw, Evelyn, huh? Isn't that right, Eddie? You have that little talent. Linda, do you draw?
Oh,
sure.
All of them.
All of you, every one of you. That's a real talent.
And Jennifer.
That and music.
Jennifer Redmond.
That and music. Lisa. Grandma, yeah, and then Robert was by ear. I mean, you know, when he went to have lessons from Evelyn, he was a very good teacher, but very strict. She would be teaching him the scales or whatever, and he'd start playing the piano. But he'd start by ear, and she'd whack him on the hands. She didn't want him to play by ear, she wanted him to know his notes. But, yeah.
Do you remember going, my mother talks about going to Sunday dinner at the Gardy's.
Yeah, that was a regular thing.
Tell us about the Gardy house and some of your recollections and memories there and with that family.
Well,
cousins and aunts.
First of all, Aunt Adeline and Aunt Albertine made us think, and I think they believed it, that we were beautiful, we were talented, we could do anything we wanted. So I believed that. I really did. One of my neighbors one day said, I was maybe 4 or 5 years old, Marguerite, what makes you so pretty? And I said, I don't know. I truly believe it. But they made us feel that way, so special. And then every Christmas was Christmas at our house with the Gardys. So the big dining room table stretched across the whole room. And then New Year's dinner was at the Gardys. And I'll never forget it because I used to be so impressed. The turkey was surrounded by doves. Everybody had his own individual little bird besides the turkey. Uncle Walter was a very good cook, and he enjoyed doing that. And tell one more story, that should be enough.
Oh, sure.
But Aunt Albertine had this help, Sonny boy, a little black boy, who was washed dishes and ran errands, did a lot of things like that. And when President Roosevelt died, Aunt Albertine was so upset, as everyone in the country was, and she went to tell Sonny boy that the President Roosevelt had died. And she said, it's so sad, Sonny boy, because 2 of his sons are out of the country, they're in the service, it was during the war. And he studied the situation from and he said in his garden, their mama told them their papa dead. So that was about it, Eddie.
Well, this is a wonderful interview, and you've said so many wonderful stories, and I'm sure that, you know, each of us in our own way will pick up on different things and ask for more details, because it's a rich.
And if you would really want to top off the day, I think you kids should play kick the can. Because that was fun, wasn't it?
Oh, God.
Well, that's the end
No,
of
I
our
think
interview.
I think what we need to do is to have a flip to close this with.
She's had two back surgeries.
Everybody's sitting down. Why don't you just pan around the room and everybody will say who they are?
We kind of did that when we checked,
You do
when,
that coming in? Okay.
wait, hold on. Wait, say it again.
The 6 girls, the 3 older girls were godmothers to the 3 young.
I hadn't seen
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Alice to Yvonne and
Yeah. T-shirt to
you to Helen?
T-shirt to Evelyn, Alice to Yvonne, and I'm Helen's godmother.
And Yvonne was to me.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And you know how our conversation would go? We hero worship our godmothers because they gave us presents. Our birthdays would receive a box this big, individually wrapped presents, just filled with gifts. Might be a little thing of mints or gum or what have you, but all individually wrapped, and you knew it was coming, and your nan was sending it. But our conversation, Evelyn, Yvonne, and I would say, my nan is the prettiest. No. My nan is the smartest. No. Mine. I mean, that was, we had little to do. I mean, that was it.
Is that how perfection came about? Is that
I don't know how that came about, but I know it was there. Yvonne and Alice called each other perfection. Forever. And if you said anything about your nanan, my nanan's perfect. And they'd sign their cards to perfection from perfection.
Yes.
Always.
Everything that Yvonne would sign for me, when she was my godmother, would sign perfection.
In fact, and we got to a point when the family got so big that it was just impossible to give everybody presents. They decided the godparents would quit exchanging presents with the godchildren. And one day I see presents from Yvonne to Alice, and Alice back to Yvonne. I said, "You can't do that. That's against the rules." He said, "Well, we're perfection. We're I want to ask you and Meg to talk a little bit about, since a lot of us here were up with it, talk about kick the can. Talk about the chicken barbecues at Tara on Southeast Street. That was an integral part of our growing up that I think we all remember well. Was the big barbecues we'd have with the kick the can and all that stuff.
When the grown-ups were in the patio drinking beer.
Drinking beer.
Right down the bannisters.
Rob would fall in the bushes. That one went on for years, though, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. That was it.
And Eddie, you played in the no bamboo?
Eddie played in the no bamboo.
Story.
What's the no bamboo?
He played in the no bamboo, but I've never heard of the no bamboo.
Mom, remember the no bamboo story?
The what?
The no bamboo. Eddie played in the no
LeBlanc.
Yeah, tell him.
They were playing kick the can, and you all remember how to play it. You kick the can, and everybody runs to hide. And the last one in is it. And Eddie said, well, where were you hiding? In the bamboo? There was bamboo, or in the no bamboo.
Which is the whole rest of the universe. I'd like to ask you the phrase "pass the authority." If any of y'all have any recollections of the origins of that in the Canadian,
That's the
at the
whiskey
dinner,
for the
at the
bread.
formal
I was too little,
dinners,
but I remember the grown-ups.
they would serve plum pudding
And the whiskey for the bread.
and have a gravy boat with whiskey sauce in
Yeah,
it.
the authority of the
Tell them what that is, because I've never heard that anywhere else.
Yeah, that was a traditional Christmas dessert. Plum pudding that you had to boil it for hours in the can. And it was very rich, like fruit cake. And there was a little gravy boat with whiskey in it. And those who were old enough were allowed to put, Mother always called it the authority, a little authority.
I mean, I wondered if that came from Canada. That's not a very South Louisiana.
I think it was a Molly original.
And the story I've always enjoyed at Meg was the story about Uncle Robert taking Buddy to Chicago. Do you?
Yeah, on a shoestring. They went on the bus, I think, all the way to Chicago to see a few good plays. That was Robert's life, Broadway plays.
How old was Buddy?
And the money got real short after they saw a play or two. They stayed, I don't know, in a motel or hotel or whatever. And Robert said to Buddy, would you prefer seeing a couple of more shows and let's just not eat much? A loaf of bread and a lot of bologna. And that's what they lived on in Chicago, in the hotel. They had bologna sandwiches. And he had enough money to get back to New Orleans by bus. Buddy was little, not all that little. And they hitchhiked to Abbeville from New Orleans. In those days you could do that.
The Lower Theater.
Yeah.
Were you in, I remember Uncle Robert had 2 feature-length movies that he made. Yvette
yeah.
and the Nativity. And most of us were in the Nativity.
Yeah, all of you would.
I remember being a shepherd going over a hill in St. Martinville, getting my flock. I think David and Johnny got to be, the shepherds were great because they got to wear moss beards.
And Adeline made all the costumes. She made the shepherd outfits from my drapes. 3 kings, Frank deGraauw was one of them. And Gilbert, little Gilbert, I think.
Yeah.
And who was the other?
Gilbert was a king.
Anyway, their outfits were made from my evening dresses. And Eileen did all of that. But it was priceless because Robert knew that there was some sheep in Henry. Let's go have a picnic in Henry. So Maggie, my maid, would fix fried chicken and the trimmings, and we'd go and have a picnic in Henry. And the church door in St. Martinville was very pretty. Let's have a picnic in St. Martinville. And he was filming away everywhere we went.
Right.
Then the high school was where the 3 kings, the high school has been demolished. It's where the 3 kings marched with their gifts. But all of the costumes in Eileen made with my drapes and my evening dresses. It was wonderful. And who was it that didn't want to be David? I think you didn't want to be a shepherd. And Lisa was baby Jesus.
I was baby Jesus. I was an angel. I was so jealous.
They did a manger in the backyard.
And wasn't Gilbert the St. Joseph? And
I think Gilbert was
St.
Joseph.
Yes.
Gilbert was St. Joseph. Virginia was the Blessed Mother. And yeah, Gilbert's beard was made out of moss.
Now, Yvette was all of you as young adults.
Yeah.
He cast all of you. Tell us about Yvette. What was that, a love story?
Well, Yvonne was
Born in Alfred.
I wasn't in that.
That's right.
You weren't in Yvette?
No, I wasn't in Yvette.
But Yvonne was in Yvette?
Yvonne was.
Was he there? Do you remember anything about the
at your
story?
house, Eddie. That was filmed at your house, yeah.
Was it a comedy or a romance?
It was
or-
romance was fun
Romance?
and Freddie had a thing.
It was just the 2 of them in the movie?
No, we were all in it, but they had to kiss, and we wrote the script, and Robert, I think, wrote that. I said, Yvonne, you're not going to kiss Freddie. Well, it's in the script.
It's really wonderful that he made those movies and those recordings and everything. Things for us 20-some-odd first cousins growing up was going over, and he would teach us songs, and we'd all perform for all of you, which was so wonderful. We, just like you said, we thought we were talented, no matter who we were. And we all had little songs. I was talking to your son Stephen early this year about that. And he said, well, what was your song? And I remembered exactly, The Sheik of Araby.
The sheep of Araby, not a big
Everybody had a little song. Everybody had a little song.
Who started that movie? Who started that story about the ponytail? That thing's
Oh, that's Uncle Robert. That's Uncle Robert.
Wasn't it in the attic or something?
Oh, my ponytail.
Oh, yeah.
Get Big Mom.
Big Mom.
Big Mom's there.
Who started Big Mom?
Robert.
I'm sure.
Didn't want the kids upstairs.
And the hobby hour.
And when Helen married, I was the only attendant. The wedding was at our house. And we thought the most elegant thing in the world was to come down from the attic. And I was a little afraid of Big Mom. But one more Robert story. As you all know, what a ear he had for music. He could just play anything. He'd come to my house. He played at the riverfront for a while. And he'd come to the house and want to look at my albums, like of the different plays, and he'd just copy down "Okay, My Fair Lady," Oklahoma, and write it down in the composition book. And then when he was, playing at the piano, he'd just look and he'd play everything from the score of My Fair Lady, just from memory. All of these different plays. Well, one night he was playing, and people loved it, and they would come and request pieces. And Frank Gacho, only the richest man in town at the time, came to him one night and said, "Robert, do you know your zipper is open?" He said, "No, but if you hum it, I can play it."
I'm wondering, we seem to have some natural performers that do all the fun of the thing. Would you recollect, young ladies, another song you used to do?
Do, re, mi, do.
Do again?
On top. But you could not swing your feet into the, if you hit the wood, you had to get down.
And Pat had a great voice.
Pat, this is a time capsule moment. This may be your last dance.
Give it the
This into a talent show at home. That's the last time.
What was your song?
We used to sing Irish songs. Danny Boy. Irish Eyes Are
Flew
Smiling.
through the overalls in Mrs. Murphy's chowder, and he had a pot as a prop. And as we sing the song, we have to pull the overalls out of the pot. And he thought it was precious. I thought, yeah.
It was bad enough the talent shows, but it was the Chamber of Commerce and the Rotary clubs that were the killers. Everywhere.
And press conventions.
Yeah.
Every press convention, we were the entertainment. I mean, we wanted to be enough.
I remember my father taught me Dan the Lavatory Man. And my mother was appalled.
Because we didn't know what the words meant.
I didn't know what the words meant.
I never heard that one.
Come on, Eddie, say it. Come on, Eddie. Come on,
Who
Eddie,
can
sing
do
it.
Door Deer? Do we need more encore Door Deer people?
Well, you need more than two people. We need a
Oh, since there's a Dave over there.
I don't know. I don't see.
He looks like he was a Door Deer man.
We each have
Yeah.
On the lower end, they were playing telephone tricks with us in French. Uncle
French
Robert and
telephone.
Uncle Freddie, maybe even Aunt Meg participated.
Never sang on the piano.
Never said, I'm gonna tell you not tell one true.
Never, I would never sit on top of
The
a
next
piano.
Paris City.
How would a French telephone joke go?
Oh, the chord tricks? Well, they had a lot of tricks. They had the penny game, where you would have to close your eyes and guess if they kissed you or not, and if you guessed right, you got the money. So. But the telephone game was very mysterious to us because you could pick a card out of a deck, and Uncle Robert or Uncle Freddie would get on the phone and call one of their brothers or sisters, and from far away, they would know what your card was. And I'm sure they had some type of code, or they talked in French, or whatever it was, though, but that we were totally amazed at our psychic cousins.
The wizards, yeah.
Now, I do recall a Destin trip.
Yeah.
It involved Uncle Robert at the beach with a very large bathing suit and a lot of beer and a lot of waves. And he was a little tipsy in the waves, and the suit comes off. And I said, look, Uncle Robert's suit came off. And Mama said, you can't see anything. And I dove on her and said, you can see under there. Dad, I didn't sing, but Dad, I did.
You really never sang.
How did you get out of it?
How did you get out of that?
It had to be 6, right?
David, were you singing?
No, I can't sing. I can't hear you. Robert kicked me off the piano.
There's 8 people, and there's 5 people lying in this room.
I know Pat sang.
All right, now 4.
Y'all were adorable.
There was
Greg,
I
did you
got
We had these group sessions, you know, like several cousins singing the
The
Titanic.
Chic American. I'm doing an interview with Michelle and a bunch of them. They were little bitty. And she had a particularly animated one where she was talking about the boats in the water and the water in the boats. She was describing the bayou. Very animated.
Yeah,
And,
I don't have that anymore.
he loved cameras and films and productions and things. Do you remember when he got his first camera, his first?
Grandma LaCasse brought him his first camera.
Is that how he got it?
Very young, yeah, he started. And I think Brad has a collection of, doesn't he have Robert's, some of his videos?
I think he might,
Tapes,
yes.
yeah, some of
the older ones.
Robert had every contraption, electronic contraption, the first prototype, he'd buy it. He had the big 400-pound VCR. I remember $2,000, I believe it was there.
Whatever the technology was.
Whatever came out, he bought it.
He was the first,
Aunt Meg, you were talking about some of the meals at the Gardy house, and I was wondering if you ever had plank fish over there.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I had the good fortune before Matt Gardy died, he made plank fish for me on the dishes that they served it on the Gardy house. They'd made a silver rack to set a big piece of wood into, which way they would soak. And they would put redfish on it, and they would make a levy out of seafood dressing, and then they would fill that with coubillon and bacon, and they called it plankfish, and it was a Gardy house recipe.
You know,
And Matt Gardy showed me how to make them.
Walter B. did that for many of rehearsal dinner with different people in town. Yeah, they would ask him to cook that special dish. That's very special.
I never knew what it was.
Thank you.
Mr. Dupuy, who had Dupuy's Oyster Shop, Tut Dupuy, Tut and Lodiana, great names, huh? Husband and wife, Tut and Lodiana. I asked him once, I said, Mr. Tut, what's the best thing you ever cooked? You ever cooked? He said, and he didn't hesitate. He said, oh, that's easy, Walter B. Gardy's plankfish. And I thought, well, that must have been sensational, whatever it was.
It was, yeah.
To be that memorable.
I
But
bet
I
David
never knew
could
what
cook
it
it
was.
for us.
I'd love to have the recipe. I'd love to have it.
But you know how to do
I
it?
have it, David, it's in several cookbooks, yeah.
I'd love to see that. And Helen, tell us a story about Uncle Robert. I think something's my best. We all have our experience cooking. I learned how to cook from Uncle Robert. What your story about Uncle Robert and the casseroles right before?
One, I think maybe two.
Kind of summed up Uncle Robert.
Like 40 cookbooks, I'm not sure what the name of it is.
When I was living
It's the red one.
at Mama's house, before I moved down here permanently.
Well, it's,
I
you
was
know,
helping
it's
Mama
not signed, but
cook
you know, it's
Christmas
typed,
dinner,
but it
having a
has
big
his name
crowd
at the
over.
bottom of it, and it's
And we were
typed.
making different casseroles.
And he also
and
has several other
our
recipes
tails
as
off. I
well.
mean, if you've done it before, you know, cooking, chopping the onions and the bell peppers. So it was a labor of love. We worked all afternoon. Of course, he did the cooking. Finished the last casserole. He was going to put it in the freezer and he dropped it. There's a squash casserole, dropped it on the floor. And he said, well, pick it up and I'll put some crackers on it. Nobody will ever know. I said, I know. Oh, no. I mean, he would have done it had I not been there. Nobody.
Hey, Helen, you remember when he was cooking a turkey here for, I guess it was Christmas?
Oh, yes.
And he just dripped grease, you know, all from the pan, just across the kitchen floor. And Bo, Nehrbass' husband, came behind him with a mop everywhere he went.
And your pot roast started, when you pot roast and went to mass, and said, Robert, whatever you do, don't touch my pot roast. The first thing you did was take the cover off and change the heat or something.
I do want for the record to tell a Lavelle story since I'm an attorney. And when I first started practicing, I would go to Abbeville and I would be so proud to see Uncle Lavelle there. And he would tell me, don't tell anybody you know me. Don't tell anybody you're my cousin. And we would flirt with one another as though we would kiss on each other as though we weren't cousins at Abbeville Courthouse.
Mother, you said that Aunt Albertine Gardy's recipe for pralines is what your recipe, or you based your pralines on?
Yeah, and that.
Can you tell everybody what goes into that, or something about making pralines?
It's a secret, Daddy.
She have to kill us. Even the mailman, everybody's wanted that for years, and that's my secret.
What made them so good?
Well, I'm embellishing them.
Mom! Didn't your answering service message used to be, hello, this is the candy lady? Is that right?
Mama, tell about when Aunt was tell the story about Aunt Albertine going to confession for stealing.
Y'all heard that one?
No.
Gregory's place like cards. Uncle Walter went to bed at 9 o'clock and he didn't play cards. Mrs. Hall, who lived across the street, didn't like cards, but Mr. Hall did. So he would pick up Aunt Albertine and they'd go play with the kiddies or whichever couple was having the card game. But she went to confession and she told the priest that she had taken $5. She'd stolen $5 from her husband's pocket. That was for her poker game. And the priest said to her, Madam, that is not a sin. Whatever belongs to your husband belongs to you. She said, yeah, Father, but I have to look for it.
A big ice cream cone, we call them a say-so, with a tooth on top. With a what? A tooth that come out. It's the piazza. Ice cream cone with a tooth on top. That teeth don't nearly down.
I wanted to ask the sisters, my mother, Yvonne, used to always talk about one of her favorite characters growing up was Tiny Opelousas. Do y'all remember Tiny Opelousas? The maid? Apparently y'all do every bit of her work. She sit down and watch y'all. Y'all must hear Tiny Opelousas?
She may have made that up.
Maybe so.
I remember the name, I don't
It's a
know.
great story.
Mama, what about turkey in the straw? Tell that.
Mama had a little girl, little black girl who worked for her and married. Her name was Mary. And she was very, very slow. And she said, Miss Mandy, she said, if you play the piano for me, I could work much better. So Mama would go to the piano and play Turkey in the Straw, and boy, Mary would
What was the signature song that Zeb Bear always played when she walked in the house? That's how you used to say it. What was the name of the song? Do y'all remember the name of the song she played?
Any particular song?
It was a little song Zeb Bear would play every time she walked in the house.
Yeah. She played Strictly by Little Name, which she had she basically get around the piano at night and sing. It was a lot of fun.
When did y'all first get a piano?
It was always there.
The piano was always in the house?
She was a piano teacher,
Yeah.
and she would
try to teach the children.
Then why didn't you learn piano?
Well, some of us were not interested. But if I wanted money, she would bribe me. I'll give you 15 cents if you take a lesson. And that, I got about 5 lessons, that was it. You know, she wouldn't do it after that. But I'd get 15 cents. I wasn't, I mean,
She bribed you to take
Robin and Buddy too could just sit and play anything they wanted.
Buddy could do it.
Without
Buddy
taking
could.
lessons. And when Robin did take lessons from Evelyn Fontana, I lived with him at the time, and he practiced, and it would drive me crazy. Don't, you know. And I'd say, Robert, just play something, the old way for a while. So he'd play beautiful music, and then he'd go back to his practice. And I thought, oh, God. I mean, why I take lessons? Play anything.
And Helen, when did you decide you wanted to be a movie star?
When I was 5. Can you tell us about that? It almost worked out. No, Robert, like he did with all of you, taught us how to sing, how to harmonize. Don't ask me how he knew how to do that, but he did. And if you didn't get a note right, boom, would go the book on your head. And he'd hum it again. I'd get it right the second time. But we learned and we did sing, and one of my fondest memories, and I remember the song because I love the song, singing the Rosary as children. But I don't know who the kids were, probably you and Yvonne and I know Robert. We'd be on the front porch, no air conditioning, it was too hot, in the house, so we'd sit out there before going to bed at night and sing these songs that he teaches. And one of them, I can remember one night, was the Rosary, singing it in harmony. And one of my neighbors, who lived around the block actually, heard us singing and called my mother and said, "Have the children sing that song again." Because we were singing several songs. And I can remember singing the Rosary again, and one of the neighbors requesting it. But they had no television, no air conditioning. Windows wide open. It was just a different time. But what memories, what beautiful memories.
I do remember the time you were on television. For the one at the game show?
Jeopardy.
Jeopardy?
That wasn't, no,
No, it was concentration.
Jeopardy. I tried out for that in flunked.
Was it concentration?
Concentration.
Yeah.
Down.
Yeah, I do remember when you were on the show.
You remember that? Mm-hmm. You made me little.
Well, I know, but I remember you being on because we wanted you to win and you didn't win. And I think Mom always said that you would, I think she always said, it's because she's nervous. It's because she's nervous. She knows that. It's because she's nervous.
I don't know if you remember the game, but there was a big square.
And you had to remember.
And all of these numbers, and you'd call out 2 numbers. You'd call out number 1, they'd flip it around, it'd be like a washing machine.
Right.
Call out number 30, flip it around, it'd be a TV set. Well, they take the pictures off, and you had to match when it'd be your turn. And if the other person would flip something that was a washing machine at a different number, you'd think, oh, I have it. But when it would come to you, blank, blank, and you think, well, how far can it be? 30 numbers on the board, And I think, is it miscalled? I mean, absolutely. And the worst part of it all, the live audience, you'd say number 1. Oh, there's a washing machine. Now, what did she just say that was, number 30, and of course it wasn't, and the audience would go, and you go to a commercial. And the little girl young girl that I was playing against had won about 8 games in a row. And she, between commercials and we'd have to go home overnight and come back the next day. They don't tape for like a half hour. She'd be knitting. I mean, not caring the world. I was nervous now. I was so nervous. My knees were doing this. The second day that I went back, I went to the drugstore and I said, "You're going to be on a television show." And I'm there, they're very nervous. Could you suggest something I could take? He gave me something called Nervy, honey. Number 3. Number 5. I won something because they told me how to win. Swiss fashions and clocks and I didn't want the Swiss fashions. And a friend of mine had been on it and won, and she said, when NBC calls, tell them you prefer to have cash to the Swiss fashions. So when they called and told me I knew what my prize was. They told me that, we're going to send out the Swiss what are Swiss fashions? At any age, what. And I said I would prefer, if I'm me, to have cash instead of the prizes. Mrs. Pearson, NBC chooses to send you cash instead of the prizes. But I took the clocks. I wanted my clocks. I got my clocks. Experiences. And I took Bride and Brad out of school to see me on TV, and Mother was there in the audience. Not my finest hour.
Mom, I saw the story about you being on stage and what a great personality you work with your rabbit ears.
Well, Aunt Teton never had a girl child until she had grandchildren. And so she was a school teacher, so she would steal me once in a while and put me in different little pageants. The first of which was a beauty contest when I was about 5 years. Yeah, something. And it was very cold, and it was at the Frank Theater, and they had a big pot-bellied stove. I remember that. It was, we were looking at that. It was right down where the orchestra picture had been. And so finally, by the process of elimination, I was down to there were two. And a little girl with it still chokes me up, with Shirley Temple curls and roast chicken beaten. And she won the game. And we went by that stove, and from then on, I remember those faces in the audience. I developed a terrible inferiority complex. Well, she puts me in another pageant. And after that, I added ketone. And this time we were wearing riders. And she made the cutest little outfits. We had pink blonde ears, big fluffy tails. I love her little outfit. And we hopped. And again, I looked out there and saw all these faces. And I'd already gotten burned once by scared to death of those faces.
You don't forget those things.
And there was one piece of furniture on the stage, and it was a great big sofa. So I thought, that's my chance. So I ran behind the sofa, and all the other little bunnies went off. And the audience was dying laughing. Those faces were still out there, and I didn't know what they were laughing at. My ears were sticking out. So somebody had the time I lost weight, even though I'd had 4 children. Had a white straight dress, which Betty Gardy bought later on. It was a very pretty. And I didn't know how to curtsy. So you know who came on first? Well, I had a straight. And so Reggie's wife, she was not married then, came on first. I never joined another
Well, you should have lived with Virginia Stuller.
One of the notes that were given me, some little guideline notes and ideas, is how to call how Yvonne's name came to be in Hank Williams' song. When did you have any recollection of that?
Well, Hank Williams was a country singer. I think it's Hank Williams Jr. is a country singer now. But he at the time was traveling with a Hadacol caravan. Dudley LeBlanc had the Hadacol caravan with a lot of movie stars, Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney, and in those days, quite a few that traveled with him, advertising Hadacol. And he was traveling with them with Frank's friend, who was it?
Brad
Oye. You could probably tell better than I could.
Well, just Brad Oye was the publicist with Hadacol.
Yeah.
And he was in the little car with Hank Williams, and they were going through South Louisiana, and Hank Williams wanted to write a song about South Louisiana. And he said, I need a good Cajun-sounding name of a woman that typifies South Louisiana. And he said, well, I was just at a wedding. One of my best friends married a girl named Yvonne. And Hank Williams had the guitar, and he said, you're the one, my sweet Yvonne, on the Bible. And that's how Mom is the Yvonne in that song. Yeah, yeah, better, but Mom is the Yvonne in that song. Yeah.
Was his name really
Yeah,
Brad?
but I call his Huh?
His His name was really Rat.
All I want to know is I'm right over here.
Francis.
It's a great story.
I didn't know that.
It's probably a rat in the telephone book.
Yeah.
Piggy Frederick. Piggy Frederick.
The phone books, get back. The stories about the phone company I've heard when y'all were younger, about the operator would you call and say so-and-so, you know she's at the grocery store? The operator would tell you.
You had to, the telephone was up on the wall, you had to ring the little bell and the operator would answer, number please, 79, Aunt Albertine's number. Oh, she's not at home, she just passed by, she's going to play bridge at Miss Nugent.
And back in those days, Mama got a letter, I still have it, and all the envelope said was, Yvonne across from Maud's house, Abbeville. The good old days.
And can someone tell the stories of your mother's party she had at her house on the week?
Oh,
Eggs and all that.
That was a tradition for, I think, 30-something years. I'm not sure how it started, but long before we had lots of cousins. And it was held every Holy Saturday, the day before Easter. And it started off as an Easter egg hunt. It grew into a huge family occasion where everybody came and brought all the cousins. And at one time, I gave a there was 20-something cousins plus friends of the family here in Abbeville. And I think we had an average of about 50, 70 people each year, depending on the weather. And it went on for 30-something years. It was an annual deal. It's a lot of fun. But one of the few times the whole family could get together, because at Easter and Christmas, everybody's with their respective families. So it's kind of our gathering point for the whole family. It was a lot of fun. A lot of good memories from that.
I have something to add to that. I remember the first time when we were older and we started having children, and you bring your children to the Easter egg hunt. If you hadn't seen your cousins or your cousins' children, you sort of weren't sure who was who or who belonged to who. But a group of us remember the first time that Michelle brought Simonette to the first Easter egg hunt. You could peg her out of the group from everybody else. The lace, the pink, her Easter basket had doilies. Remember, she had doilies in the Easter basket. Everybody else had grass. She comes walking up and she's got the precious little doily in the Easter basket. We all said, we know whose child that is.
I have one other LeBlanc tale about the Easter egg hunt, and he's sitting right here, and that's Ken Purcell. Ken came to me, and I guess you were, what, about 10 or 12, and you said, you know, I hit the golden egg. It was my little chore over here. And you pulled me aside and said, you know, I'm from New Orleans, and, you know, all these Abbeville cousins, I've got to kind of show that I'm from the big city. So if you'll just tell me where the golden egg is, so it a lot of you have to look around, possible of embarrassment. And I refused, and he stormed home and walked home. You let me.
I remember walking home.
You walked home. I think you were 22 at the time.
Actually, it was last week.
Yes, but those are good memories.
I always thought the Easter egg hunts were rigged, though.
They were rigged, and that's why I wanted to know where the egg was. Because it was always one of his nieces or nephews that found the egg first.
That's another story.
I knew that.
Oh yeah, my older son still has a resentment, Chris, because the little listies who weren't officially invited always won.
Yeah, exactly.
And I say, maybe that's because they go to mass every Sunday and you don't.
There we go.
No, they do the listings do fit all the time.
Yeah. Little listies always
They were
won.
our kids over though. They were.
They were God's people.
That's because Robert told where it's
You'd be surprised. I answer one hundred hiding the eggs. You would see the curtains part, and I won't embarrass certain adults in this room. But things are speaking out of the
The adults to give their kids the heads up.
By adults, I mean the generation above mine. So we had
He's talking about you.
And Evelyn gave hints.
I'm more than one.
We love her for that.
Give hints about where the eggs were buried. They said that you would give hints at the Easter egg hunts about where the eggs were.
Oh, but it was all over.
Yeah, but Graham, you
you never knew where the golden egg was because I was the first grandchild of hers for,
I know that
10 years.
I guess the girl got it on the fence, and that's when you started walking over.
Damn listeners. They did it again. I'm 33, I'm still mad at that.
The man's an executive with offices in New York and all and on. He's still a little brother with Egypt.
I started my own company to get my own. That's right.
Mother, can you tell us about you, Jennifer, a wonderful anecdote you told me about going to the Sanger Theater for the first time, who you were with?
Well, it was really nothing much. Your dad had just come back from Japan, and he was so handsome in his white naval uniform. And Teton arranged for him to take me. Very, very shy, hadn't been anywhere, but happened to be in New Orleans at the same time, to the Sanger. And those twinkling lights on the ceiling were like magic. And he told all kinds of little jokes and stories. I felt like I was at a movie store, walking down the canal.
But he was in his naval uniform?
Yeah, very handsome. I must have been about like 16.
Can you tell you with glasses? Is that it is? Can you tell me the story about, this is intriguing, Aunt Albertine being 16 and marrying a 32-year-old Barry? How did that happen in the family? Was that something that was just... You know any details of that?
I do know a story about Aunt Yvonne that Uncle Frank told me one time, which has always blessed me, and because he still told it with love in his eyes. We ran across Uncle Frank while we were eating boiled crawfish in Henderson. He was coming through on business, and he was telling me that when he'd come back from the war, he was standing on the sidewalk in front of St. Mary Magdalene Church, and this beautiful woman with this hat and a glow with her vivacious character came down the sidewalk, and it was Aunt Yvonne, and he was instantly in love. But his face when he told that story, after all those years, when he was in love again, just recalling it, it was a beautiful thing. I tried to talk Uncle Frank into coming to the World War museums in New Orleans with me, but he wouldn't go. He said he didn't play a very important part. He said all he did was get movies and stuff for the important people. And I was later told that he quite discounted his roles there.
And how do y'all remember your mother feeling about our mother marrying our father? That's a bad thing.
She served with my nana, and she stood back and she said, "I'm all alone, but I'm with you."
You were there.
No, but then they learned to love each other.
Meg was there.
Meg was at the wedding.
And Helen, can you tell us about Aunt Helen? Can you tell us about meeting Uncle Milton?
I don't remember. It was on a hayride.
I was in high school, and he was with somebody that was asking her to join them later, and I thought it was the other guy asking, he was asking me for Milton. And I said no, and I found out later it was Milton that I thought was very attractive. And an older guy, I was 16 and he was, almost 6 years older. But that wanted to for me, I don't know, to go dancing or something after the hayride. And I was crushed, but he did call me after that. But in those days you dated one person one day and somebody else the next, and they dated, the person you dated the night before dated. You didn't go steady until you were actually engaged. And it would kill me when he dated other people, but I was 16. And when I went to college, I do remember dating other little boys and thinking, I was 16, how old were they?
Yeah.
And thinking, he's cute, but he's not as cute as that Pearson boy. It was always in my mind, but I didn't put two and two together, and was a teenage bride. I married at 19. I'm glad.
I think our dad, didn't he ask you out on a date first? Didn't Daddy, my father, he had...
Oh, yeah.
He was a naval recruiter?
He was a naval recruiter for the wax. And the waves, right. And I remember when Mama went, and she couldn't get in because she was not 5 feet. And she said, I am a full 5 feet tall. She's like this. And Evelyn had gotten it, but I think he asked somebody else. He asked you out first.
Yeah, I was living in Baton Rouge.
Right.
At the time, and he was, I don't know what he was doing in Port Allen, but he was a recruiter. But I was interested in joining the Waves, and Mama thought it was a good idea, and everybody, that was fine. My friend Lorraine David took the test with me, but your dad came to get us in Abbeville with Eloise LeBeau. Several of us went to Lafayette and had a physical and took the test, and then of course we scored sky high because they wanted to recruit us. And your dad was such a gentleman. And I can remember Mama thinking, you know, if you sent overseas or something, you could change. So much could happen to you. And I said, once a lady, always a lady. Johnny never let me forget that. You're still a lady. But anyway, of course we were accepted. We were going to go to Hunter College in New York and for our training and so forth. But then Mama did an about face, and she just thought, they'll be sent overseas, anything can happen. And I couldn't make her unhappy, so I changed my mind. And that's when, by chance, I went to Standard Oil and started working. And I dated your dad too before you met your mom.
At that time, you had two brothers who were in England and France, right? At that time, Uncle Robert was in France and Uncle Alfred was in England, I think.
Yeah.
Eddie, I have a quick question for Kathleen or Pat. We all have fabulous memories of Alice and Johnny both. And I know Jordan the Corey was a little kid. I was fascinated by that. But one of the most wonderful stories in his family, I think that some of the younger generation may not know, is how you and Pat are part of our family. Can you tell us something about that real quick? The time capsule? That's some great stories.
Time capsule.
The roses, cheeks.
Yeah, we were adopted from Dublin, Ireland, and Mom and they went on the trip to Europe, and I know this is sort of new to you, but they wanted a trip to Europe. They had some mutual friends, the Hawthorns, who had 11 children adopted, and they were adopting 2 more. And they went to the orphanage, and they were going with the intention of adopting 1 child. And there was a 3-day process. I was brought down the first day, and I stole their eyes. And of course, you know, they were going to take me. But then the second day, Pat was brought down, and we're not blood brother and sister. But he was brought down, and they sort of liked him also. But then the third day, they brought the 2 of us down together, and we played so well together that they decided to adopt us. They left us at the orphanage, took a 6-week tour of Europe, picked us up on the way back. Picked us up on the way back, wrote a little note to the guy at the Home of Curry in Home. Smitty will be back July 3rd. Please arrange to have us picked up at the airport. Have 2 babies, 1 boy, 1 girl. Love, John. And that's how the people in Homer found out that we were adopted. And that was at 13 months old, and it's history ever since. So that's the history of us.
Another little girl that she fell in love with.
Right, but there was another child that they wanted, and actually had a little skin cancer on his face, and Daddy knew that he could come back and do the treatment for him, but they said, oh no, y'all have your hands full with 2. And then they did try a while later to adopt another one, but Daddy was too old, because after the age of 50, they don't let you adopt. Daddy was 49, Mother was 40 when we were adopted.
I know a lot of people thought y'all were twins.
Oh, well, and when all of our kids were born, and Pat's children were the same way, they'd look and they'd say, oh, she looks just like your mother. Pat, you look so much alike, you know, but it's like, yeah, I mean, people just say things to make you know, whatever. I mean, we had
you brother like 2 weeks apart?
6 days.
6 days apart, because I remember telling
He's 6 days old.
A housekeeper we had, she said, those twins were born when? And I said, one whatever it was, June 7th, that was 6 days later. She goes, the poor mom.
But we used to always tell people that Mama held the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest delivery. And we never bothered to tell them any differently that we weren't, you know, blood brother and sister.
And that's why Pat sang Irish song. Now we know the rest of the story. There you go.
One of the little ones sang about Uncle Lavelle.
What is she
Sang and one of them
I can't hear it.
forgotten her with.
We need to put Aunt Helen in the middle of the room, like y'all did in my house, when the three of you were sitting on the sofa, and you were telling Aunt Helen something, and she would tell my mother, then my mother would tell Aunt Helen what you said, and she would tell.
Meg, didn't you go to see them not too long after Lavelle passed away? In Homer, went to see them. And she told the children strictly not to tell, not to mention anything about
Aaron, it was Aaron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
She
what
said,
happened?
Alice said, Uncle Lavelle just died a couple of weeks ago, so honey, don't mention his name. And the minute I walked in, she said, where's Uncle Lavelle? And I said, well, honey, he's in heaven. She said, how do you know he's not down there? Miss Marguerite, where's Mr. Lavelle? I said, honey, he's in heaven. She said, all right.
I think it's time for cake.
All right. You sing happy birthday?
Yes.
And then we'll bring it in the other room and we'll cut it.
You better go fast.
Are we ready?
Everybody made a wish that we had other reunions like this. Ariel, come blow it out.
We have to sing. Birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ray. Happy birthday to you.
Where's Frank?
He's not feeling well.
Oh,
He
really?
started, with
Oh, just take one?
Yeah, just take one.
Okay.